Hi folks, this is John with GMIT Label. What I'm going to do is do a short video. I've had a number of requests from folks to asking me about the Zebra ZT series printer. In particular, the 220 and the 230. The machine that I have here, and sorry for the back view, but I'm going to start in the back and work my way to the front. But this is the back view, and I wanted to do two things here. One is just kind of give an overview of the machine itself, what it looks like, what it has, discuss a little bit about the options and so forth. I'll get into some of the specifications very briefly, but you can always go to my website www.gmitlabel.com and actually download the PDF file on all the specifications on the machine and so forth. But I'm going to give a quick overview on the machine because I know a number of you are considering new Zebra printers, and there was questions about it. So sometimes actually seeing the machine and somebody loading it and so forth is better than actually reading it off of a data page and so forth. So hopefully, as always with all my videos, these are not shot professionally. Sometimes I think it's better when you kind of see it where somebody's just in real time, my real time, discussing it, showing it, you know, that kind of stuff, rather than some kind of a marketing produced video where it's flying from outer space and all that kind of stuff. So let me get and proceed with it. The first, as I mentioned, I'm starting in the back just to show you the different things. But what's standard in the back is, you know, you got your power inlet over here. You have your rocker switch, on-off switch. It does come with a USB connection for connection to either your network or your PC or whatever you're going to be using. It also has a serial interface, and that's mainly used if you happen to have a Zebra KDU unit, which is a keyboard display unit. For those of you who don't know, that permits you to operate the printer without the use of a PC or a laptop or anything like that. You can have your template stored in the machine and then call the template, upload your information, and tell it how many labels you want to print. That's good when you have maybe 1, 2, 3 different not size, but templates of a label. You know, it has basic limitations where you're not going to have the full power that you would have, as an example, if you had some kind of like a Zebra Pro Designer software package, of which, by the way, I have gotten your emails. I'm going to be doing a couple videos on the Zebra Pro Designer software. One in particular is how to set up a database using Excel, so you may want to stay tuned for that. But also, to continue on, and up in here you got your 10100 Ethernet connection, which is an option. Another option you can have is a parallel connection that would also probably go up in here. Yes, people do still use parallel, just simply because there's so many machines there's such a huge installed base that as long as they're running, people just don't normally run out and start disconnecting things. So there are people that still use parallel interfaces because there's computers out there and networks within companies that still have all those interfaces and so forth. And as always with the Zebra printer, you have the slot back here if you're running fan folded labels. This is where you would feed the fan fold labels into. You'll see as we go through the ZT series printer is a direct replacement for the Zebra Stripe unit, and I think they did a much nicer job with this unit. There's more metal. This particular, there is like when you get into the 220, there is a plastic cover with an option, I think, for the metal. But this one has a metal, so there's a metal cover which is more durable, metal backing, metal base, metal support frame, and a lot of the parts are all supported by metal and so forth. So they actually made this unit a little bit more rugged, which is kind of, I think, just a personal opinion, I think that's Zebra's hallmark of having beefy industrial type machines, and I think they got that head and shoulders over any of their competition. So I'm not touting Zebra, but one of the reasons why I sell Zebras is simply because they're the ones that tend to be more durable and last the longest in the field and so forth. And then turning to the side now over here. Turning to the side, I'm assuming everybody can see that. First thing you'll see is it's also, the door has a window where you can actually see your ribbon, if in fact you have a ribbon, and you know, and your labels and so forth, so you can see when it's running out. I don't know too many people that actually run these machines with the doors closed. Most people, unless it's a dirty environment, dusty, very dusty environment, but most people run them with the doors open. Now this, the metal door in fact has, and I think this is a good feature, it's actually a bifold. So if you're limited for space, where you might hit an object and block it, you could just fold it in and move that door up and out of the way. And as I mentioned, I think that's a good thing. Looking on the inside, you'll see where, as I mentioned, about the metal that Zebra uses, and I think that just adds to the support of the machine. I'm all about anything that lasts as long as possible and so forth. Also within the panel is, within the door itself, you'll see up in here, I'm assuming you could see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but up in the door itself, it shows the direction of the ribbon, direction of the label material, things of this nature, some sequences on the keyboard and so forth. But that's permanently put up here, so it's always there. But also inside the machine, you can see it where Zebra, they always mark the direction of the label as well as the ribbon when you're feeding it through. Now I should mention this too, with the ZT series, they come stock as direct thermal printers. If you want thermal transfer, that is an option upgrade, so keep that in mind. This would be, if you upgrade it to thermal transfer, the ribbon feeding mechanism in fact would be attached. This is not field installable, so if you think there's going to be a chance that you're going to need to print with a ribbon, you know, I'd strongly advise you to order that at the time you order the machine and so forth. That's extremely critical. And then also the biggest difference between the ZT220 and ZT230 is the 230 has a display on the front panel, whereas the 220 does not. So if you think you need a display so you can see the settings within the machine, that in fact you may want to make sure you order the 230 to get the display. A little extra money, but sometimes those things you don't need them until you realize you need them. And if you need them, you don't have them, then you got a problem. I'd say order them if you think there's a chance that you may need those, because I think the display is extremely important. But if you want strictly down and dirty, throwaway type machine, then go for the 220 and try to, you know, get that as cheap as possible as you can get it. But some things when you look at the machine, there's a couple things I do like about the machine. One is Zebra has this color coded with bright yellow. You'll see that with all of these. For the things that are commonly handled or adjusted, I want to say, each time you use the machine, one would be the guide to hold the ribbon, the labels against the back wall. The other one is the guide for the label, where you adjust that into the width and so forth to make sure that the label is pushed against that back wall. So many times I get calls where people tell me their printer all of a sudden started skipping labels and it's printing half the information on one label, half on the other. And that always comes down to either one or two things. They have this guide pulled out and the label's walking and it walks away from the photo eye, and sure enough it gives off a bad signal. Or in fact the photo eye down here in the bed is actually clogged up with dust, and that's giving off bad signals too. But always make sure you have this adjustment. And then you have the adjustment down here for the photo eye itself, where you can slide that left to right to make certain that you're picking up a good sense on the label itself. Now the other thing, and I'll go into this a little bit more detail later, is you have the what Zebra did a little bit different here, and I'm assuming you can see that from this. But there's two. I'm trying to get a little light on that. There's two. Yeah, let me get this over here. Right in here, you'll see where the, you know, where it comes down and applies the pressure. We're all used to the little thumb screws. Well, Zebra has done this a little bit different, where there is no thumb screws and you can't slide these along some slide up above. So you have set adjustment on this. You have a limited amount of adjustment on this, but it's also got graduation marks, so at least you know where you were and where you're taking it to. And And I think it's probably a good thing because one, with them situating this, you never have to worry about your machine accidentally where you're sliding all your adjustments over and out of the way and you're applying too much pressure on the head on one side versus the other and so forth. So it limits the amount of damage to the print head that you would have. And then also we're used to, when this thing, like on the Z4Ms, this used to flip up out of the way and then the ribbon would come all the way down this way and it was somewhat wrinkled up and so forth. Whereas now they have this coming straight up and on, and it actually minimizes ribbon wrinkles and things of that nature, so I think it's a good thing. The one thing that I'm not too sure about is we're used to when you turn clockwise you put pressure down, counterclockwise you take pressure up. Well, I think this is actually backwards because I noticed when I turn it counterclockwise, this is where the pressure starts to come in. But once again, when you're playing with the machine, when I first started the machine up, it was giving a lot of ribbon wrinkles. Took me a couple of minutes to play with the adjustment, and I seem to got that worked out. And like, you know, all machines, once you get it set up, it's pretty much good to run for a period of time. Another key feature about this particular model that I like is, although Zebra doesn't specifically state this in their data pages and so forth, but this machine can actually run a 1-inch as well as a 3-inch core. And to show you what I'm talking about is, that would be your 1-inch core if you have 1-inch core labels that you're going to put on there. And that's probably how Zebra would prefer you using it. But also, what I like is, and I understand these rules can only be so big, is you can actually put a 3-inch core on here and run that just as well. So I think that's actually kind of a good thing because it gives you a little bit flexibility and so forth. The only concern I would have is putting an 8-inch diameter rule in here, but labels are sold in 6-inch diameter rules on 3-inch cores. But I'm sure if you had to, even if you wanted to run 3-inch cores, you could either run it on here or probably run it to the back. But it looks like this may in fact handle in fact, I'm going to go out on a limb. I actually stuck an 8-inch roll of labels on this, so I'm assuming it does run it. So I'm going to say it does. But this is this is where your labels are being fed in, and then your ribbon. And this is another key thing with this machine is we're used to the adjustments where the ribbon take up after it's been already spent. You're ready to change it. We're used to turning that, and the 2 pressure points on the 1-inch core would retract, and then what we would do is not retract, but the 2 pressure points on the ribbon would retract, and then you pull the whole thing off and throw it away. Well, Zebra now supplies with every new machine 1 core, because now your spent ribbon will go on to the 1-inch core they supply, and then when it's time to put a new ribbon on, you just pull this core off and everything and discard that, and then you just put you move the old core over to here and then put a new ribbon on there. So that's kind of a key change. I find it beneficial. It actually works pretty nice. Yeah, so I think that was actually a good design for Zebra to actually do that. And loading the machine up, as always, is fairly simple. As I mentioned, I kind of like the fact with this printhead bed, the way it comes up nice and even, versus with the Z4Ms where they would be somewhat tilted back and it'd cause all kinds of ribbon wrinkles initially when you're loading it and so forth. But you put your ribbon in that way, and then your label material will come down and through here. And once again, you can follow the guides, but I think most of you are knowledgeable enough where you understand how it's all loaded. And I'd say this, a couple things. Make sure the label come in between that sensor there. There's a kind of like a, I don't want to say a pinch point, but there's an opening you need to go through there. And then further back, there's another little sensor that it needs to come under, and then it comes across this other sensor sitting right in here. But it's easy. I'll show you how quickly you can actually load this puppy. As you can see, I got everything in place. It pops here. I check my adjustment to make sure I'm the width adjustment, the actual width guide to keep the label in place and so forth, because once again, if that walks, you'll see your reading matter shifting, but more importantly, if it walks too far, if you have a smaller label, and this machine does handle a label I want to say it's got a print width of, well, it's capable of 203 as well as 300 DPI. 300 actually would be an option upgrade. And then when you get into the print width, the maximum print width is 4.09, so maximum label is going to be about 4 inches. And then the print speed on this unit is 6 inches per second. So there's a couple brief specs for it. But once again, you can get the data page right off of my website, www.gmitlabel.com, if you want the hard copy data page. But once you got all that in place, you got your rivet in place, you got your label in place. If you're using just direct thermal, you're only concerned about the label, you lock that puppy down and you're pretty much good to go. So it works out fine. And then and you can see it's fairly easy to actually load it up, set it up, and get it ready going and so forth. Let me turn this around so I can actually show you the front of it as we fire it up. I'll close that. Okay, I'm assuming everybody can see that. I want to make sure I get a good shot. I'm assuming everybody can see that. I'm going to get and fire this up to now what we're going to have, I'm going to remove the plastic off of this. Now it's going to be very difficult through this video to actually see this screen, but I'll show you what the screen looks like. Once again, I think it has its advantages, but if you're not interchanging the settings, or if your settings are being changed by your label design software, or if you have some kind of a notepad format set up on your PC, whatever it may be, then in fact this display really doesn't mean too much to you. So if you don't need it and you go with the ZT220, that's fine. But if you do get it, it's handy in this sense now. At one time where you would just go into the into the I want to say the display, into the settings of the machine, and you kind of had to use the little button to continually go through everything until you finally get to the right area, and then you click on that, you say select, and then it takes you to another series of things that you'd go through to get to the thing you were finally looking for. What Zebra actually did is they actually broke this up now, where they have it broken on into 6 different categories, where when you power that up, and I'm assuming that you can't see that. I mean, I just clicked on it, but even if you can't, I'm going to show you what it looks like here, where you can actually see where they broke it up. This would be your settings. This is where you'd find your print speed, your darkness, direct thermal versus thermal transfer. Then you have your tools, you have your networking, you have your communication selection. So they broke that up, so most people will probably only go into settings, which is what this is currently set here. That would be the settings and so forth. But that's what comes up on here that you possibly cannot see on this video because of the lighting and things of this nature and so forth. The button arrangement is still very similar. You got your cancel in case you're canceling. You want to, let's say you download a print job and you find out that it was wrong. You just take and hold that button, and once it flashes and the flashing disappears, then you cancel out the information. You got your feed button, which is kind of normal. Then you got your pause button. I'm assuming you can see that when it lights up. And then you got your series of left, right, up, down arrows. OK would be what used to be the select, that kind of stuff. And then you have your plus minus. So if you went into settings, you went into print darkness. Once you got the print darkness, you'd actually hit one button to increase the darkness, or this button over here to decrease it, and then you hit OK, select, and you're good to go. So it's fairly simple. So that is the machine. I think it's a good unit. I think it's a nice compact unit. I think it's a good size. There's metal involved in it. I think they made some improvements as far as being able to load the machine and also to make adjustments and so forth. So that is unit. Let me print some labels and see what we get here. And I'm assuming all of you can see that. I'll pull one off here and kind of show you, because actually I think the print quality on these labels is excellent. I think once again Zebra did a nice nice job with this machine. I think this is a good replacement for the Stripe series, and I think it's a good machine to put out there, and with known Zebra, you probably get the same kind of quality and durability. Any questions, please give me a call at 704-786-0951. You need the specs on this or information, just go to www.gmitlabel.com, go to the Zebra section, and pull up the Zebra printers, click on the 230, 220, and then download the data page. You'll see it where it says click here for specifications. You click on it and you have that information. Once again, John with GMIT Label, thank you very much.